Yeah. I'm not sure. How's everyone this evening? First of all, thank you for coming out. There's some information just briefly before we get started. The handout that some of you received as you were coming in is just the frequently asked questions page. That is the first 2 pages of your course description guide. So if you have your course description guide, that will one of the handouts. And the second handout is just a copy of the purple form that your students should have brought home on Friday. And it's, of course, it's not purple, but it's just the same, just that form to be able to follow along with this evening. We do have a Facebook page, we have Twitter, we have all the different social medias. Mr. Mann is, our principal, is amazing at that. And so this is being live streamed, which makes me a little nervous. But we are recording. Of course, it's not getting you guys, it's focused on the screen up here. But we are live streaming. And it will be available after this evening if you need to review something, or if you have a friend that didn't make it for whatever reason. It's a good thing. So, first thing I always like to start off with welcome to junior high. First of all, it'll be the ride of your life. I always tell parents, please stay plugged into your kiddos throughout these next few years. These guys are so technology based, it's unbelievable. Phones and tablets and iPhones and Kindles and just all those different things, and Kik and Twitter and Instagram and Snapchat. It goes on and on and on and on. Please stay plugged into your kiddos. As counselor, I can tell you that there's been several things that have come up through social media issues that we've had at our school. So just be aware, if you ask your student to see their phone, and they kind of give you that look, it's a good time to look at it. It's a good time to look at it. You got this in the mail, I don't know, probably a couple of 2-3 weeks ago. I usually like to mail things out at least 2 weeks ahead of time. And you can see right here, this is today, January the 11th, 6 to 7. There's a course fair that will be held from 7 to 7:30. We have to hurry, because it happened again this year, just like it happened last year. 2016, January 11th. That's 7:30 our time. We don't want to stay late, right, guys? Okay, so I'm sorry that happened. It happened again. It happened last year actually as well, and I don't want to watch the game as well. But I will stay. By the way, I will stay after this presentation is over. I'm going to sit right up here, and I will take every single question that you have. I will stay until every one of them is answered. If you're willing to stay and wait with me, and so there's usually somewhat of a line that forms, and then I just answer questions. And I will take questions during this presentation. If you do have a question, please raise your hand, speak loudly, and please keep your questions very general in nature. The reason I allow questions is because sometimes I forget to say something, and someone asks a question that triggers lots of good stuff for me to tell you guys. If it's about your individual student, you might want to hold that until either afterwards or email me sometime after tonight. These are the people that you will need to know for next year. You see Mrs. Ray, she's also at Oakwood. She works partially at Oakwood and partially here. Mrs. Scott, who's an assistant principal, you know, probably recognize Mr. Mann, he's in the back. And he's our head principal, Mrs. Fagan, who I just saw her over here. I'm not sure, she's in the back also. She's also an assistant principal, and that next good-looking dude is me. And then Mr. Matkins, who's standing right there, and you'll notice he is not quite that tall compared to me if you see us in person. This picture I don't particularly care for, because it makes us all look small compared to him. He is taller than all of us, but not that much taller. But he should be the 8th grade principal, 8th grade counselor next year, and I'll be the 7th grade counselor. Well, my name is Brian Martin, if I didn't say that. Okay, the things that your students should run home is a course description guide and a purple registration sheet. Course description guide looks like the picture on the page up there. And the thing I like to say most about it, I told the kids this the other day, I said, not everybody always reads that guide. I know that. If you read the first page, it says frequently asked questions, it will probably answer a majority of your basic questions that you have. Now, if you have questions a little bit deeper, but there's a frequently asked question page that has some really good information, and I would highly recommend that you read at least that page. Real quick, I also want to say, how many of you here in the audience, today I'm talking to parents, not kids, remember junior high as your absolute favorite time of your life and your education? I like to see where the oddballs are. I see a few. Junior high is tough, and we all know that. We've been through it. It's not the best times of our lives. And you're in for another ride because now you have a student going through it. If this is your first one, you need to hang on with both hands. It is like a roller coaster because it's that time that the kids like to be independent. And so you let them be independent a little bit, and then they don't do their homework, and they don't turn it in, and they start failing, you gotta go get them, and they scream at you, and you don't know anything, Mom, you're running by, and then you're close to them, and you watch them, and then you want to let them go again, and it's just like this, and it lasts, until like they're 18 or something. But anyway, it is a roller coaster ride. You do have to hang in there. A lot of parents feel that once they get to this age, that you're gonna let them go and release them. Don't do that just yet. Don't do that when they get to high school. The high school will tell you the same thing. And you need to keep them close. You need to keep them close because this is a very delicate time in their lives as they change, as they learn more homework habits. Their grades become a little bit more important than they have been in the past. So just keep them close. Stay in contact with the school. Use your resources that you have, which would be your websites, counselors, principals, teachers. Contact us. We want you to. Okay. I did forget to say in the very beginning, and I'm sorry, that right afterwards we will have the course fair in the new gym, which is just directly right across over here. And if you have a band student for next year, Mr. Sheamus, who's here waiting at me, is requesting that the band parents see him in the band hall, which is just right around this corner. It's real close. So you might want to hit both of those things. Don't spend all your time in the band hall because then you might miss some of the other things. But what's happening out there is all the elective teachers and department heads are here. So if you have a curriculum question or a question specific about a class or cheerleading or whatever that question is, they'll be here to answer those questions. Okay. 7th grade immunizations. If you haven't known, there's a new, well, it's not that new actually anymore, but there's a new state law that says 7th graders have to have these immunizations. I am not a nurse, so I'm not going to attempt to do this, but please do make sure that your child is immunized. I need to say it right. Before school starts. And the earlier, the better. Get a copy of that to our school nurse. If you want to bring it to us, we can take it. If you want to bring it to Oakwood, you can. Always make a copy of it before you turn it in, because they can't come to school without these immunizations. And so pass that word to your friends that are maybe not here. Without those immunizations, you're in law. And we have to have a record of those immunizations. Get them now, because sometimes some places run out of certain ones of those immunizations. So take care of all that information now and make copies and get it to school so there's no issues when you come to pick up your child's schedule. Okay, I tell the kids all this. If you, yes ma'am.
That's on those immunizations. Is that a 7th grade rule or is it an age rule? Because I had a
Yes, I think it's a 7th grade rule. I don't know that for a fact. I think it's a 7th.
prevent a lot of them from getting it. It's an age rule, but it's the age most kids are when they hit seventh grade, but most doctors won't give them until after they've got that birthday.
I don't know, I do know that if they don't have it,
I mean, I've had a son who's already done it. That is what they tell you. A lot of them won't give it to you early, so saying go get them right now.
oh, I see what you're
Child
saying.
hasn't
You may not be able to come
birthday,
get them right this
You
minute.
may have difficulty, yes.
Okay. On the registration form, you see on the top left-hand side, you all have a guide, but you see things like English, math, science, and history. You see things like athletics and band and orchestra and choir. Those are all full-year electives. Now, what's something a little different that we have that Oakwood doesn't have is we have half-year electives. And so we have things like keyboarding and health and art and theater and PE and exploring careers. Those all have half-year courses, and they'll take something different the second half of the year. And they can take up to 7 units or 7 credits. And so I've told the kids they have to sign up for exactly 7. You can't sign up for 7.5. You only have 7 classes. You can't sign up for 6.5. You have to fill up your schedule. And so we're going to be counting and looking for 7 credits whenever they turn the registration sheets. Okay, we have core classes, obviously, English, math, science, and history. And then what I told the kids is every single student in there has to sign up for keyboarding. It is a local district required course. Each student has to take keyboarding. The asterisk there, I call it the fuzzy dot for the kids, but the asterisk there is, that means it's the high school credit course, which we'll talk about in just a few minutes. Science and Spanish we do not have anymore. I forgot to delete the slide, so just pretend you didn't see that. What about advanced courses? You notice on the registration sheet there is no place to put advanced courses, and that's because that will be determined at a later date. If your student is in advanced English right now and they're doing well, they will probably be in advanced English next year. If you have a student in advanced math right now and they're doing well, they will most likely be in advanced math next year. Now, if your student is not in advanced and you want them to be, you need to contact your teacher and your Oakwood counselor really quickly to make sure that, to see if that's even a possibility for their school, to see if they can get into advanced. We do look at their current placement, we do look at grades, teacher recommendations, test results, all those things, and Oakwood makes those determinations. They send us a list, and then we put your children into advanced courses. I did tell them, because I know that some parents are really going to want to write advanced on the form, and that's okay. And I told them that's great. I don't mind. But please know that just because you write it on there doesn't mean it happens. You have to qualify for it. So please make sure that you just understand that. I mean, I like notes. Write all kinds of notes on there. I want to know what your student wants to do. But just realize that just because you write it on there doesn't necessarily mean it's for sure going to happen. And then you will get a letter in the mail from Oakwood, and your student teacher will be contacting, will be telling your students what kind of level that they might be at. Any questions about advanced, real quick, and how we determine those things? I'm not going to make it raise of hands, but if your student is in 7th grade advanced math, and I know there's at least one class of those students over there, they will take Algebra 1 pre-AP at our campus next year. That is a pre-AP high school credit course, and it plays by high school rules, and you just need to be aware of that. The kids that come to us from Oakwood that have already been in 7th grade advanced typically do not have any problems with the Algebra 1 pre-AP. Yes, ma'am. What do they take after Algebra 1 pre-AP? In 8th grade, they would take Geometry pre-AP. Now, keyboarding teaches the kids how to touch type. Now, most of them can type really well with their thumbs, but they don't type as well with all their fingers. And this class teaches you that. It also teaches you some basic letter writing, business letter writing, block letter styles that they will use as they get older. It's a half-year course, and it is a half of a high school credit. And that may surprise some of you guys, but yes, as they turn into 7th graders, they will have opportunities to start collecting high school credits to go toward the 26 that are required for high school. Keyboarding is available in summer, but I will talk more about it in a few minutes. Okay, again, all students must sign up for the keyboarding course. If you do take it in summer school, adjustments will be made after we get the results of summer school. And if your student completes it, we have a way to know what your alternates at the bottom, again, which I'll talk about in a few minutes. And the alternates are very important at the bottom of the page. And again, like I said, we'll talk about it more in a few minutes. But since we're talking a little bit about high school credits, I need to make sure everybody's aware, and most of you probably are, but whenever you take a high school credit class, it goes on your transcript. And they open their high school transcript as they begin 7th grade. Now the keyboarding class, it's just a credit. If they make 100 in the class, it's a credit. If they make 70 in the class, it's still a credit. The grade is recorded on the high school transcript, but it just goes as a credit. It does not go toward their grade point average. And I'm talking to kids about grade point average. Grade point average, just in case you don't know, is every time you take a class for high school, they assign a numerical value to the course. If you make 100 in, say, a regular English, you'll get 4, you've heard of 4.0, you'll get 4 points of grade point average. And at the end of high school, they average them all up and they rank you and you graduate with the grade point average. Again, keyboarding does not go toward that grade point average. They have to have 26 credits to graduate high school, and the keyboarding class does go toward that, so they would all only have to have 25.5 credits to graduate high school. And actually, there's more opportunities than just keyboarding to get high school credits, and we'll talk about some of those here in a few minutes. I do need to caveat the exceptions here, because we have an honors or pre-AP course, and it's a high school credit, and it goes on the transcript. So not only is it a high school credit, the grade goes on there, but it also counts toward the GPA. So 100 versus a 70 in algebra and pre-AP is very different than 100 versus 70 in, say, keyboard. Anybody have any questions about high school transcripts or GPA? Okay, the big topic of conversation typically at this level is athletics. And on the left-hand side of your registration form, you have option 1 or option 2. All students have to choose one of these 2 options. Option 1 is the athletic option, and we will spend some time visiting about it tonight. Notice that there's a 1 by the class called athletics, and underneath that as well, there's a class called health that everybody that takes athletics is also required to take. It is a separate class called health. It is a half-year course. There is it says policy, it's actually guidelines, it's not a policy. And so the guidelines form is available on Fooders social studies teachers. It's also available on my website. And so they have to turn that guidelines form in with their registration form to be in athletics. Because there's some things you need to know as a parent about athletics before you just let your child check that box and then move on. And if your student's not going to be in athletics, then they will take a more traditional class called wellness. And wellness is a little bit like health and a little bit like old school physical education. Okay, athletics, what I told the kids is it's not like any PE class you've ever had before. It is to prepare them for high school athletics. They have to try out for a sport. On the girls' side of the they have to try out for 2 sports. And we'll talk about what sports they are here in just a few minutes. It requires a physical examination. The state just changed it recently that they have to have one every year. There's a specific form it needs to be on. And that form will be coming out sometime in April, and I don't know the date on that. They also must remain academically eligible. In other words, they have to pass the whole no pass, no play rule. This will affect some of the kids at Oakwood currently because the coaches will get a list of all the kids that signed up for athletics. And if there is an academic eligibility issue, in other words, if your student is failing fairly often, then they may not be allowed to join athletics as a 7th grader until their grades are showing that they can pass the course. I did not say that they cannot be in a sport. They cannot be in the class called athletics. Any student can play football, basketball, track, volleyball, all those things, whether they're in the athletics course or whether they're not. You probably need to be in the athletic course if you're doing that, because you'll be at a disadvantage if you're not. But for some reason, you can't play football or whatever. You just have to wait until your grades come up to be able to be in the athletic course. More athletics. There is for boys, it's football, basketball, and track. And for girls, it's volleyball, basketball, and track. Remember, for the girls, they do request that your student is going to need to try out for 2 sports. And the reason for that is, in boys, football and track, generally speaking, if you want to play football and you want to do track, you can. Basketball is cut. In other words, there's only so many people make a team. For girls, volleyball and basketball have a cut. So there's a little bit less girls that are able to participate in that. Of course, track, almost anybody can run the track. We do have golf, and we do have tennis, and we have cross country. Golf and tennis, try to think of those as after-school clubs. We do have them. They don't teach you how to play them. You kind of have to already know how to play that and try out for the team. Those typically take place in the spring. Now, cross country is usually very beginning of school, and it is an early morning, bright and early, get to school and run type deal. So, and there's no need to be in athletics if they're just doing cross country. Mr. Miles, now my student's going to do tennis and girls basketball. Should they be in athletics? Yes, they should be. They should be in athletics. Athletic physicals, again, you have to have a physical in April, usually late April. There's an opportunity to get one at the high school. I don't know the date yet, but it's usually $10. It could change, but it's typically $10. And you go to the high school and they give a bunch of physicals and they keep them so that your child will be ready for next year. If your child shows up to school next year and they've signed up for athletics, they don't have a physical, they will be taken out of athletics. So we need for those students to get physicals in the summertime so that they can start right when school starts with their classes. Any questions about athletics? Yes, in the back.
The student is doing off-campus teaching. What is the health/wellness class requirement?
Okay, off-campus PE is a pretty specific thing. There's usually about 5 to 7 kids that participate in it each year. Off-campus PE meets the PE requirement. It does not meet the health requirement. So they typically are off-campus PE students take health in summer or during the school year.
Can they take either the health or the wellness class, or is there one?
If they're going to take wellness, there's really no need for them to do off-campus PE.
Okay.
One more clarity on the health, by the way, because this always gets confusing somewhere, is that only students that take athletics have to sign up for health. Students that are taking wellness do not need to take health. That happens every summer. I have kids that they sign up for health in summer school. I say, oh, what are you taking? He says, wellness. You don't need to take health. It doesn't hurt them to take health, obviously, but it's not something that they need to do, and it's $100. Yes, ma'am, in the back.
What kind of out-of-school commitment is athletic? I know it's different sports.
The coaches are in the gym, they'd be happy to answer those questions. I'm sorry, I don't know. Gifted and talented. Now, we have a class called GT STEM. I still have the habit of referring to it as robotics. That's our old name for it. And we have a class called Project Exploration, which the old name is simulations. We have an extremely good robotics team. They typically go to state and typically do really well, by the way. GT STEM or robotics is held in the fall only, and simulations is held in the spring only. You do have to be qualified as a student who's GT to take these classes. Now, Mr. Miles, my student was in GT in 2nd grade, but they never really participated in the program. Can they take these classes? Absolutely, they can. We'll be able to look up your students' records. Mr. Miles, my student is, they're in all advanced classes. They make straight A's and are really smart, but they're not qualified as GT. Can they take the class? And unfortunately, the answer is no. Mr. Miles, if my student's not GT, how do I get my student to be GT? Contact the Oakwood counselor, and there's some testing that will take place this April. Okay. Questions about GT? All right. See, everybody wants to watch the game. Okay, Spanish 1. Spanish 1. We do have Spanish. This is for students that don't speak any Spanish at all. It is an open enrollment. In other words, everybody can take Spanish 1A if they want to. It is a high school credit. It is one of those credits that goes on the transcript, but it does not count for the GPA. Again, that says it does not count for the GPA. But I do say this is counselor thought on this is your student needs to have some good basic academic skills. What do I mean by that? And what I told the kids is they need to typically make A's and B's. Can they make a few C's? Yes, they can. It'll be okay. They typically need to pass their test the first time they take them. If your student has to go to tutorials all the time because they have to do test corrections or retest, things like that, you might want to stay away from Spanish, and let me tell you why. Spanish 1A should be okay for them, and Spanish 1B would be okay. It's that 9th grade year because these kids will take Spanish 2 as they move into 9th grade. That's where the challenge can come for students that struggle academically. It's because it's not just the beginning Spanish, it's the second year Spanish with typically some older kids, and then it's also a transition year. If it's a transition year for students that have traditionally struggled, it can be a bad situation. And if they get into Spanish 2 and they don't pass it, then they have the whole problem of they have to have 2 foreign languages to graduate high school, and it has to be the same foreign language. And so that's just my advice on Spanish. It's a great class. It's usually full every year, but just make sure that your student's ready for that type of course. Questions about Spanish 1A? Man, it's supposed to be a great presentation. Okay, this is mostly to dual language, so everybody else, please bear with me. If your student is in dual language over at Oakwood, they will take a test on February 25th that's coming up that will help determine what level of Spanish they should take next year. We have Spanish 2 honors and Spanish 3 pre-AP. Notice they both have those little fuzzy dots by them. And they're not only are they high school credits, they are honor and pre-AP credits. So not only do they go on your high school transcript, they count for GPA, so it's a pretty big deal. I will tell you right now that Mr. Miles speaks English and I have my whole life, but I will tell you, I probably should not be in advanced English if you've seen some of my emails. And so just keep that in mind as well. With the dual language, we have kids that have been doing well with their Spanish, but their work ethic isn't where it maybe should be for an honors or pre-AP level course. Most of them are okay in Spanish 2. It's usually Spanish 3 that we get into a little trouble with. Also want to say here, if your student is not in dual language, but they are a Spanish speaker and they read Spanish and they can write Spanish, they can also take this test. And it is a very good opportunity because when they take Spanish, let's say they take Spanish 2 honors. When they take Spanish 2 honors, they don't get just 1 high school credit, they actually get 2, and one of them is an honors credit. So that's a really good deal for those kids. Because you don't have to have 2 foreign languages to graduate high school. And so they don't have to take any other foreign language the entire time they're in high school if they don't want to. Now I will tell you, I recommend 3. As a counselor, I think 3 is better than 2 in competition with everybody else. But that's what that is. And then also, you need to think about if you're going to continue on in Spanish. Think if they take Spanish 3 in 7th grade, what are they going to take in 8th grade? So we do have a Spanish 4 at the high school, but right now you have to transport your kids back and forth, and that's pretty much not doable for most of us. There's also a Spanish literacy class that's available in 8th grade, just a half-year course. So that helps get them ready for Spanish 4 as they move on. But just something to think about for your dual language student, Spanish 2 honors versus Spanish 3 pre-AP. Spanish questions? Yes, ma'am.
So if they take Spanish 3 pre-AP and 7th grade, they must take Spanish 4?
No, I'm sorry if I implied that. If they take Spanish 3 pre-AP in 7th grade, they're going to get 3 credits for that, and then they have the option to take Spanish 4, but a lot of those kids want to continue. But Spanish 4 requires transportation back and forth to high school, unless they take the Spanish literacy class, which is not a high school credit, but it's an option. Other Spanish questions? Okay, music, fine art, we have orchestra, we have band, we have choir. Lots of kids are involved in these, particularly from Oakwood, because they didn't have as many electives as what we have. But I encourage your students to continue in those programs because we have, I'm feeling our programs at our school are top notch. You can ask anybody from anywhere around here, they win everything they go to just about. It's really good. All our music fine art programs are great. If your child is not currently in orchestra right now, unfortunately, they cannot join orchestra next year as a beginner. Now, they can with band and they can with choir, but they can't do that with orchestra. I do there for beginning band. It's a great course, but your student needs to be aware that there's some requirements for beginning band, just like choir and orchestra, but there's practice records that need to be turned in, and if students don't turn in practice records, it's really hard on the grades, and you don't want that either. So make sure your student is committed to band before you sign that student up for band, because once you're in band, you need to stick that out throughout that year. All right, these are all the other electives that we have. Notice on the right-hand side that they are all happier courses. We have art and theater, exploring careers, practical law, juvenile justice, and just for the record, juvenile is not juvenile jail, that's all the kids say. So what's juvenile? They say, what's that jail you go to? No, it's not the jail. Anybody under the age of 18 is juvenile. And then we have the traditional PE class. Notice at the bottom that kids that are enrolling in athletics, they cannot take PE. It's against UIO rules. Just for clarification, if they take wellness, they can take PE. And we typically do that on opposite parts of the year. Wellness on one side, PE on the other. I'm going really fast. I think I'm anxious to watch Alabama. AVID is advancement via individual determination. This is a great program. It's a college preparatory type course. There's a place for you to check AVID on your registration sheet if your student's interested in it. However, when they check AVID, you are simply telling us that your child is interested in it, because it's not automatic, because there is an application that needs to be completed. It won't be available till February, but there is an application, and after the application, there's actually an interview process they go through. And 2 or 3 of our teachers from our site team are AVID, called an AVID site team, but we go over to Oakwood and we interview students to help determine which students are right for this AVID program. And they are targeting specific groups of students. Again, the applications will be available February the 1st. Now, if your student is already in AVID, they will not have to fill out the application process again. They've already done that. So with Mrs. Bates' recommendation, they will continue on with AVID over here at our school as well. Sorry, everybody's favorite topic. Students that don't demonstrate proficiency in the STAR test, unfortunately, or fortunately, may be recommended for a math enrichment or an accelerated reading course. These are both full year courses. They last all year long, and they do take the place of electives. We won't be able to know which students these are until June. We do have a pull-out program as well. Some students, depending on their scores, might be recommended for this course, one of these courses, that you would be contacted about that. Only thing that you need to know more about STAR is as they move up, in 8th grade, the state requires that they pass the STAR to go on to the 9th grade. Now, I will tell you, it's not that clear. It's a little muddy. I won't go into detail, but it's muddy. And the STAR test in both math and reading to be able to go past the 8th grade. So we want to help them in any way we can. And these classes, although they sound like they're punishment, are kids that are taking these classes this year. If you compare their STAR scores from year to year, they're all going in the correct direction. They may not all be passing just yet, but they're getting closer every day. And I think we had 75% of the kids that were taking this pass last year. So these are good courses. It's not something that you can just sign up for. You have to be recommended for it. Now, if you want to write on your form, I would like my child to be looked at for, I don't know, math enrichment. Write it on there, and we'll definitely look at that. You can write me any notes on your form that you want to. Okay, now art is art. We have a stellar art teacher, by the way. But art is pretty much the same art that we took when we were in school. They do origami. It's a little bit more advanced than what I remember. But and we have theater arts, which is acting and drama. If you have a shy student, this is an excellent class for them to take. We have a theater teacher, hopefully she'll be here next year. There's no reason to think that she would be, but her name is Thursday, and she's awesome. I've been here, I don't know, I've been a counselor for 14 years, I guess, something like that. And I've never had a student come to me and say, God, I cannot stand theater, get me out of it. Not one that I can remember. Did I have a question? Oh, you're just waving. You're waving at them. Okay, I'm sorry. Exploring careers, it's all about jobs, and every kid goes, oh my gosh, that sounds horrid. It's actually a really good course. If your student has no direction, they have no idea what they want to do, this is a good one because it looks at their values and what they like to do and what kind of jobs kind of fit that. And a secondary bonus for taking this course is that when you register for high school, which is going to be typically it's February of their 8th grade year, the high school has hundreds of electives that they can take, and it will give them some kind of idea of what they might want to take as they go into high school. So Exploring Careers, the name is not as catchy for the kids, but it's actually a really good course. Of course, we have practical law, and it is a basic law class, and we have juvenile justice, which is another basic law class, but it pertains to kids under the age of 18. There are a little different focus on these two classes. If your child has any inkling of going into anything related to law, these are good classes to kind of check out and see what you like, because our high school, again, has an amazing law program that will allow you to have up to 9 college credits before you graduate high school, and then you can also have, I'm not sure if it's a certificate but anyway, you could be a dispatcher for a police station right as you graduate high school. So there's some really good stuff at our high school that are related to law. So if your student has any thoughts about that, these are good classes to take. Remember, they're both half-year courses, and you can take them both the same year, but you say one for this year, one for next. And then we have PE, and everybody kind of knows what PE is. That's the same kind of PE that they play at Oakwood. The kids are just getting bigger.
Are they required to take PE 7th and 8th grade, or still required to?
She's asking if they're required to take PE both 7th and 8th grade. No. They're required to take wellness in 7th grade, which is a little bit like health and a little bit like PE. And then in 8th grade, they're going to be required to take something called PE Foundations. It's kind of, think of it as the second half of wellness. And it is a high school credit just for when you get that far. But they're not required to take the PE class. Don't get wellness and PE Foundations and PE mixed up, because those are all 3 different courses. Wellness is the required course. This PE is optional. And then next year as an 8th grader, PE Foundations will be a requirement for those that are not in athletics. And again, PE would be an option.
So did this wellness require dressing out and stuff?
Yes, wellness is, when they do the PE part of wellness, it does require dressing out and things like that. They do utilize the gym, they go outside, sweat and things like that, and then the other part of the time they're doing health-related topics in the classroom.
What about foundations?
Same thing. It's like think of it like a part B of the same class.
I have a question regarding electives. Which ones are taught during the fall semester and which ones during the spring semester, or they are taught on both?
She's asking a question about electives, and the question is, which ones, I think your question is, which ones are in the fall, which ones are in the spring, or which ones in both? They're all in both, with the exception of GT STEM, better known as robotics for me, because that's a fall only, and project exploration, which is simulations, is a spring only. But other than that, they're in both.
And the same goes for keyboarding and health?
Same thing for keyboarding, same thing for health. Keyboarding and health are called both spring and fall. Now, you're going to take one or the other, obviously. You don't take them through the whole year. And again, they can sign up for 7 credits. I always get the question, Mr. Miles, how many electives can I take? And it depends on what you choose. So, if you, for instance, if you're going to take athletics, then that's going to limit how many electives you can choose. Oh, 7, like that graphic there, that's great. All right, at the bottom of their form, and I asked the kids to put their finger on it so that they can find it, because this is very important. It says if I can't have the electives I chose above, or if I take keyboarding and or health in summer, then I want to take blank or blank, because these are alternates. We do require alternates. Every student at Oakwood and every student at our school is required to put in 3 alternates, no matter what. Let's say their schedule with what they filled out equals exactly 7, and you know they're going to have all those classes, and they're still going to have to put down some sort of alternate at the bottom. And I told them if they don't, then we'll have to select something for them, because we need to have 3 alternates at the bottom. Also, like for instance, if you do take the keyboarding in summer school, then I'll go to this first blank right here so that I know what they want to take. Now this happens every once in a while. Sometimes you take keyboarding in summer school, you spend $100 and you spend your time in June doing this online course, or you went to class and you want to take, I don't know, say theater. Hopefully it'll work, and I will tell you that probably 90 to 95% of the time it works out just fine. 90 to 95% of the kids usually get their first choices. However, there's always 5 to 10% that unfortunately it does not work. So usually every year there's usually at least one that took something in summer school so they could take a specific class and it didn't work out. So just be aware that that can happen. Not very often, but it can happen. All right, so what is available in summer school? Now, I don't want to get y'all confused because there's 2 types of summer school. There's summer school through College Station Independent School District, and there's another summer school through Texas Tech Online. Okay? Right now, I'm going to talk about the school district one. You can take health, you can take keyboarding, or you can take both. Remember that if you take health, that means you should have signed up for athletics. There is a few off-campus PE people that might take health. So if you're an off-campus PE person, you're going, hey, wait a minute, it's different for you guys. So it's in the month of June. It's typically $100. It might go up this year. I really don't know. The online registration is in April, and man, does it fill up fast, especially keyboarding. They've been trying to move it to an online type course. I don't know if they've gotten it there yet or not. I know the health is. If they move it to online, they'll be able to accommodate more people. If they don't, unfortunately, it does fill up because there's only so many computers that we can put kids at. But I will say the summer school principals are excellent at having a wait list, and almost every single person does get to take it if they get on that wait list, if they didn't make it in. The informational meeting, there's typically one. I'm usually there. It's usually in March. I don't know the summer school principal hasn't been named yet, so I don't know when they will have that meeting, but just be on the lookout. If you want more information about summer school, there will be a meeting in March by the summer school principal to tell you more about it. Now, it says who would need to do this? The need is a strong word. Who would need to do it? Well, let's say you got English, math, science, and history. That's 4. Athletics, that's 5. Spanish, that's 6. And band, that's 7. That student has to take keyboarding and health in summer to be able to do that schedule. So just be aware there are some students that have to take summer school in order to do the schedule that they want to do. Typically, those students have to take summer school the following year also because of computer literacy. Here's a couple of examples. If you have a student who's in athletics, Spanish, and that can be Spanish 1 or 2 or 3, and then say music, fine art, like orchestra, band required. That's 7, but they're missing their health and they're missing their keyboard. Same thing with the second one, athletics, Spanish, and AVID. They both need to take keyboarding and health in summer if they want to do this type of a schedule, because you have to have English, math, science, and history. Side note, if you're an AVID, if your kid is an AVID and dual language, it can be particularly difficult to get them all the classes they want. I highly recommend those kids take their Spanish 2 or 3, whatever they qualify for, but unfortunately that means they're probably going to have to give up something because it fills their schedule. There's just not enough room. Last example for this, music, fine arts, Spanish, and AVID. Now there's no athletics, so there's no health component needed. And you can take keyboarding in summer. The problem with this schedule is there's no wellness. And there's no wellness available in summer school. So this can't happen unless they're doing something that's called off-campus PE. Okay? Any questions about?
That health is offered online, because I didn't see that in the book.
Health is offered through College Station School District, but that class is offered online, at least it was last year. Now, here's the other summer school that you can do, and I'll go ahead and state it right now. I don't like this class, okay? It's probably 3 times as much. It's through Texas Tech University, which, who would want to do that? Sorry, I'm an Aggie, I can't help it. There is some information on page 2 of the frequently asked questions guide. Typically, it's a little bit more cumbersome than you might think when your student starts to take it. But if this is the only way they can get it, it is an option. It is completely online. You sign up for it through Texas Tech. You will send me the confirmation that you did sign up for it, and you have to do that by August 1st. And then I won't put them in keyboard. That is another option for the kiddos. What if I change my mind? And they will. All you have to do is email me. Just send me a quick email. This is my student's name. And please, by the way, please put their whole name and their real name. Don't they go by their middle name? It really confuses me at first. And so please put their real name. And email me by June the 3rd. I don't mind schedule changes because that's what happens with junior high kids, and it's okay up until about after that.
What is your email address?
As a boy, Miles, which is MILES at csisd.org. And I do have a website that has most of this stuff on it, by the way. The dates to remember, we're going to come and collect them on the 19th to the 21st. Now, I didn't tell your kiddos this, so the ones that are here are going to get, we're going to come back on the 22nd and make it. They don't know that, okay? They will now, but I like to have them ready on the 19th. I like to go and meet with every single kid that's coming to our school so that I can meet them, answer any questions that they may have. I look over every one of their registration sheets personally, so to make sure that it's accurate. I look at any notes that you may have left me, maybe ask you to call. But just know that I will meet with your child on these days to collect the registration sheet. And then after that, unfortunately, they become late. Okay, getting around here toward the end, which is getting close to kickoff time. Get involved. I tell the kids this every year. I presented to 7th graders today. Mr. Matthews did as well. And we always tell the kids, get involved in something. Oakwood has some great clubs. We have quite a few things that the kids can get involved in. This is just a list, and we're typically adding to it. We added the science club and the coding club just this year. So this list does change from year to year. Find them something to get into. Research shows that kids that are involved in school, they do better and they like school more. And then also it starts getting them ready for that whole thought of completing a portfolio, because as we all know, colleges are starting to look more at just, there's lots of good kids. They want good kids that do stuff. And so if you get your students starting to do stuff in middle school, you'll have a better experience for one. And two, when they go to high school, there's like 60 plus clubs. They have an unbelievable, there's a club for everything you could possibly think of at the high school. And kids that are in clubs in middle school typically become club members in high school. So it's good to get them started early. It gives them something to work forward to, something to look forward to other than just academics. Cheerleading and dance. On page 6 or 8 of your course description guide, there is information about cheerleading and dance. The biggest thing about it is they are not classes. They are after-school organizations. That has nothing to do with your schedule, but there are some meetings that you do have to attend, or you cannot be a cheerleader or on the dance team. So just know that there will be a meeting coming up sometime in April that you're required to attend if you want your child to be in either dance and or cheerleading. We are excited that everybody's coming. It's always, I've been here a really long time, and it's a new group of kids is always an exciting thing. And this is the first time I presented to them just the other day. It was actually quite a bit of fun. I was going to play the watch me, remember the kids that are here, watch me, the whip, and anything, but I didn't think your parents would do it. They did it, but but your parents probably wouldn't do it. We're gonna dismiss here shortly, and when we do, don't forget the gym is here. We have, teachers in the gym, coaches are in the gym. If you have specific questions about your student, myself, Mr. Mackins, I'm not sure where he went right now, but we're gonna be here. We're gonna stay up front and answer any questions that you may have. Thank you for coming out. I really appreciate it. Don't hesitate to email me anytime. Thank you.